And if not, yes, Jazz, I guess we can start recording at 11:30.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let me pause it.
Yes, welcome to the VoiceOver Actors League of Kenya Talks, aka VALK Talks. We're having an awesome workshop for you today. My name is Andrew Balongo Opere, and what I do is I love connecting audiences with thought leaders where they share ideas that can transform your life. And today is indeed a very special session where we're going to be talking about all things money. So yes, and this is proudly brought to you by VoiceOver, and we have our fabulous admin in the background, Jazz Mystery, who makes all things flawless and flowing so you can enjoy this experience. Thank you, Jazz.
You're welcome.
And we also have our president, Her Excellency Ania Kanari, who is the founding mother of VoiceOver. Yes, so without further ado, let's go ahead and kick this show on the road. So yes, just a few things before I invite our guest. As we start, I would like you to put your expectation in the chat box. Just type in E and semicolon and then put in your expectation. What would you like to get out of this workshop? So that our speaker will go ahead and give you what you need to fill in that knowledge gap. So just put in an E with a colon and then to express expectation. And if you have a question, please type in Q and then put in your questions so that we can track all of your expectations and questions so that we'll make sure that our speaker gets to your question. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start. When you log on, please go ahead and mute yourself so your background noise does not interfere with what the speaker has to share. And if you'd like to ask a question, put it in the chat box and we will sort you out. Or put up your hand and we'll go ahead and we'll let you go ahead and ask your question. And what I've noticed is that behavior can be a result of past experiences. And knowing a person's past can help you better engage with those who have experienced trauma. Now, trauma, according to the American Psychology Association, is an emotional response to a terrible event like an accident, a rape, or a natural disaster. And immediately after the event, shock and denial are very typical. Long-term reactions include unpredictable emotions, flashbacks, strained relationships, and even physical symptoms like headaches or nausea. Now, while these feelings are normal, some people have difficulty moving on with their lives. And it takes psychologists and coaches to help us find constructive ways of managing these emotions. Now, today our guest is going to help us with this, and we're going to be discussing the examples of money trauma, signs of money trauma, and how to heal from money trauma in order to create a change wherever you are at and no matter who you are. Now, our guest is the founder of Pesa Savvy, which targets young professionals with the appropriate skills for money management. And she has extensive experience in the field of finance. She's a trainer and a coach. And she has experience with financial literacy training, curriculum, and content development. And even in 2008 as a Mandela Washington Fellow, which is a fellowship that brings young leaders to the United States for academic and coursework and leadership training. And it helps create unique opportunities that help spur growth and prosperity, strengthen democratic governance, and enhance peace and security across Africa and the United States. Our guest also holds a Bachelor of Commerce degree in finance from Kenyatta University, a master's degree in international relations from USIU Africa, and certification in business and entrepreneurship from the top ranking Chicago-based Kellogg School of Management and Northwestern University. Our guest also engages hundreds of people with one-on-one coaching, financial wellness programs for community investment groups, churches, and corporates. And our guest is committed to seeing Kenya and Africa as a whole empowered with the right financial literacy skills to make a better life for themselves. So without further ado, let me introduce Juliet Odhiambo. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You definitely have a flair for the dramatic. It's such a pleasure for me to join VALK today to talk about what I love talking about. Money is one of the topics I can go on and on and on about. So I'm super, super excited to join you. Thank you for that intro. You've done your homework.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
I'm excited to have a person of your caliber on today because we're expected to be financially competent, but I noticed we don't have the financial A to Z, like the way we are taught language. We're never taught the money alphabet. And I'm told as a man, I have to be the head of the family. How do I manage this resource called money without knowing the right fundamentals? And I'm sure women are in the same space too.
Yes, absolutely. That is so true. It's a failure in our education system. To a great extent, it's one of those skills. It's like learning how to breathe, because money and life they're so intertwined that when you don't know how to handle money, you most likely don't know how to live. But yeah, so I do think that it's a failure in our education system, and to a great extent, trying to fill in the gaps where that education and literacy has missed. And I cover like literally everything from just you knowing how to use money, secondly, but first of all, is you being able to understand what your relationship with money is, because that's actually the foundation. That's the foundation, because I could talk about investing and budgeting and all your fulizas and all those things, but if we don't get at the core, at the heart of what the problem is, all these things are frills. All these other things are frills that doesn't have a good basis, and therefore are very likely to start and stop. So you start budgeting, you stop. You say you are forever cutting out fuliza, in 3 months you're back at it again. So what we want to cover today is why the cycle.
Okay, so let's start, and I know you said you wanted this to be very interactive.
Absolutely.
How are we going to start off with this conversation?
Right, so I'm going to share my slide. Hopefully I can share my slides, and I'm going to talk about, I do a bit of an intro, and then I'll pause. We'll have a short chat, go to the next bit, then also pause again and have a short chat, and then finish it completely.
Okay,
all
sounds
right.
Great.
Sawa. Let me see how to share my screen with you guys.
Sure, and while she's sharing her screen, please go ahead and put your expectations in the chat of what you'd like to learn from Juliet today. And remember just to put an E and put your expectation just like that. And also, if you have a question, do the same. Just put a Q, put a semicolon, and then put your question. So, and now everyone, can you see that screen, that wonderful, beautiful screen? Do you have money trauma? Wow, why money trauma?
Why money trauma? Because I've worked with people, like I said, as part of my work, I've engaged people one-on-one. I've worked with people one-on-one. And after a while of doing that, I realized we were moving forward and then moving backward, moving forward and then moving backward. And I realized after a while, there's something missing. there's an underlying problem that I wasn't addressing. Yes, I was talking about budgeting, how to budget. I could give you all the ratios. I could tell you how to do your 50, 30, 20. I could tell you how to do all those things, but it wasn't sticking. There was a problem with what I was sharing sticking, and so after a while, I did my research and I realized that there's a reason. There was something that was keeping people stuck. In a loop. So you make a little progress and then you keep coming back to the same mistake. And that's what I realized was happening. It was the trauma. It was the trauma that was happening. And so while you might, first of all, there's a general problem with understanding what how the money system works, financial education. And then so with our education system, so that's a problem. But even now, as I'm there trying to fill that gap, what the other problem was, that there was a problem in terms of people understanding themselves. And so so even when you get the financial education, you still find that you're struggling with your finances. And so that's when I started. This is actually the first thing I do before I work with people, so that we can cover the bases, cover the foundation, and then talk about budgeting, then talk about debt, then talk about investing. So this gives you a really good clarity of why you do the things you do and what kind of things you can start doing to shift your behaviors. Wow. That's why I do the money trauma.
Wow, and wow, you've mentioned something very powerful. We don't understand who we are, so you can have all the knowledge, skills about it, but you don't apply it effectively to have the change that you desire.
Absolutely.
Wow, would you mind then sharing with us? I know I mentioned that you're a Mandela Fellowship, you're a Mandela Fellow, and you've worked in banking. Would you mind just telling us a little bit more about your experience, just to let us know your experience and what you're going to share?
Absolutely. I think you really, like I said, you did your homework. Probably the only thing you did not say was that the fact that I love Jesus and the fact that I'm super obsessed with Sherlock Holmes. Those are the missing details. Those were the two missing details. But generally speaking, for the longest time, I've always believed, I think maybe since I was 10, 11, 12, I always knew money was going to be part of my life. I just didn't know whether it was my money or other people's money, right? So yeah, that really influenced the direction I took with my education and all those things. And so from high school, I leaned on, your accounting and business. Those were my options that I took. When I was applying for school, I actually got accepted to another program that I didn't want to do. And thank God for my dad, he allowed me to go and do my finance because I was really attracted to that. I did my CPA at Strathmore. Like I was just following the money, basically. And after finishing my campus, I only applied to banks, by the way. I took my CV to all the banks that I could think about. Likely one of them had mercy on me and took me in, and I loved it. I absolutely loved working. I was working at Standard Chartered Bank, and actually that's where I started doing financial education work, because we were really big on influencing our community, influencing the impact we were having on our clients, on our customers, and we set up a financial education program that I was able to lead at some point just before I exited and started my consulting in 2018. So in 2018 is when I started my consulting. In 2018 is also where I happened to have participated in the Mandela Washington Fellowship, which really expanded and allowed me to go into my consulting. The experience has been fantastic, and I cannot talk about my consulting without talking about the Mandela Washington Fellowship, because they were very intertwined. It's actually, that's where I launched my program after help with a lot of people, faculty, and all those things. Yeah. So that's generally about me. I love Sherlock Holmes. I love his thinking. I know he's a fictional character, but there's a way in which I just believe he exists and I could be able to think like he thinks. And I feel like even in my work, his deductive reasonings are things that I find necessary as I work with my clients. And then of course, Jesus is my Lord and Savior.
Wow, wow. And it's very interesting because all of these influences, Jesus came to unlock our minds and our hearts. Sherlock Holmes, we can see another way of unlocking, thinking, finding out why this thing happened, how this thing happened is very amazing. And I'm honored to, to be interacting with you and all of us. And so, let's behave like Sherlock Holmes and Jesus. They tend to ask questions. They tend to ask questions. And how are you going to start unlocking for us our behaviors around money?
All right. So let me start by just talking about what relationship with money is. Because usually people like relationship with money, like, first of all, you need to understand that that's a thing, that just the way you can have a relationship with somebody, a relationship with your family members, you can also have a relationship with anything, any tangible or intangible thing. And it just basically means how you and that thing are connected and how you behave, or what the state of your behavior is, or the state of your interaction is with that thing. And so when we are talking about relationship with money, we are basically looking at is money bae to you, or is money a harasser? Is money your master? Is money the love of your life? Like, what is the relationship that you have with money? That's what it means. And often it comes from somewhere. That relationship with money comes from somewhere. It comes from voices you could have heard, or you had, or it comes from experiences you had. It comes from things you saw, or things you have seen, things you have been exposed to, and all that. All of those things, when we put them all together, they are what influence what your relationship with money is.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
very true. In fact, yeah, guys, in the chat, would you mind sharing some of the things you've heard about money growing up around you, whether it was directly through your parents or even just around you on TV, uncles, aunties, what have you? Just share in the chat some of the ideas you've heard about money. And I think there's one here. Let me see. Yes, there's a sentiment from Daniel. He says that I'm torn in between using my story for financial gain and sincerely to just help people. I want to purely help people, but would considering the financial side of it dilute the work I believe I am called to do. Wow.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice. And actually, that's a common problem, because with people who really feel like their calling in life is they're motivated by impact. And that's the whole idea of, social impact, social enterprises, because you're like, I want impact, but then I also want money. And to be honest, impact is difficult for it to happen without money. Like, if you want to reach people, have some sort of impact on them, but you're not able to cover your own rent, your attention is split, right? Your attention is split, because you'll be like, should I be worrying about my rent, or should I be worrying about the people that I want to reach? That's a very common problem. And I think it's a problem that I also experience. I should mention that from when I joined the Mandela Washington Fellowship, I was under the business and entrepreneurship track. Now, my experience doing financial education, I was employed, and we were doing this as CSR. It was a social impact thing that we were doing, because, like I said, we wanted to have a positive impact with the people that we were working with. And so from the get-go, the work that I was doing was more motivated by impact than really money. And so by the time I was surrounded by entrepreneurs. if you have worked with business people, it's always the bottom line is money. Let's make this money. Let's make this money. Let's make this money. And so my first interaction with people, people introducing themselves, I'm doing this, I run this, I do this. Everyone was talking about what the big vision is and how they're planning to grow their businesses and all that. I was disconnected because I didn't have the same mindset with them. That was just the only reason I was put in that track, because it's finance is business, money, they're all together. But how I was torn. Actually, I think I was torn even in that period of time as I was trying to start my business. I was like, should I go the non-profit route? Should I go the for-profit route? It was a problem internal problem that I struggled with. So I absolutely understand that question. My balance was that this impact that I need to do needs money to do it. Now, I could go the route where I am constantly begging and asking people to fund my work, or I could go and set up I could choose a model that allows me to have the impact and make the money at the same time. Money that was going to help me pay my rent and eat, and money that will also enable my business to remain a going concern. And so that's now why I prefer to call my business a social enterprise, because of that. I know the impact that it does, but I also know that if not for it, then I actually will not be able to pay my rent, and that's the truth. And so it doesn't have to be either or, especially in this time where we are in. The social impact is big. Social impact is big. So although in Kenya we can't really register your business as a social enterprise, you just have to register it as a business. But it's the impact that will speak for your business. It's the impact that will say whether you're a social enterprise or not. Yeah. But I absolutely understand the struggle. My opinion would be, you don't have to choose. It doesn't have to be either or. It could be both.
Wow, wow. That's so powerful that it doesn't have to be either or. And I think, and I'm glad you're filling in that gap, because also I notice a lot of people who are successful at social enterprise change have figured out the way where their money is coming from, and they don't need to talk about it. So they focus on the change.
Yes.
So maybe, like you said, filling in that gap of showing that, oh, this is how you can sort your bills so that it doesn't divert attention away from your change, is how you do it.
Yes.
Wow. So guys, if you're just joining us right now, please share your voices that you've heard around money, so that Juliet can answer your sentiments. And please, if there's anything that's impactful, insightful that she's sharing, that you hear, please just send it in the chat or even on Facebook, wherever you're listening to this, so that we can know the impact of what Juliet is sharing.
Andrew, maybe you can be the first one to tell us what voices influenced your relationship with money.
Wow. Okay, before I share mine with you, since I have direct time with you, let me share what Sugilapi shares here, that growing up, I learned not to borrow money to spend on luxuries. Just avoid borrowing unless it is really, really necessary.
Right. And that's actually also a very common trauma. Why they learned that, they need to tell us what is it they saw that made them believe that borrowing was a no-no. Because it is, I usually find that anyone who comes and tells me, I'd never borrow, I don't borrow, I don't, it's never, that's coming from somewhere. And so I usually want to know, where is it, what did you see? What happened? What happened to you? That made you have that belief system, that made you think that is the right way to think about money. Now, borrowing has two edges of the same.
I am not attending to student. I am not in, because today is my day off. I'm not supposed to be here.
Go ahead.
I can go on. So yes. There are two edges of the same rod, right? Borrowing, that is. And so there are people, because of their of past experiences, they cut off the whole idea of borrowing altogether. But the truth is that sometimes to do really, there are some things that we want to do in our life that are extremely capital intensive, that regardless of how much we can save, we might never actually hit, or by the time we are able to save enough for this thing, we wouldn't be able to do it. But so there's a correct way to think about debt, right? And so, but when you refuse, you don't even want to consider the correct way to think about money. There are people, because the whole idea of borrowing is making money off of other people's money. And so if there are people who are creating wealth, building their wealth, because they've learned how to use other people's money to do that. But when you have, out of your past experience, you just say, I've cut off, I never take loans, I never, then you'll not even consider that it's possible for this loan to help you to create wealth. You just need to figure out, how do people do it? Because your experience was that it didn't work out very well. Something happened, and so you learned that loans are a bad thing. But are they really? Are they though? So that's what you want to ask yourself, yeah. Because there are, and as a financial literacy educator, I must say that there are bad loans. There are. I cannot deny that, but not all loans are bad loans. Tell us. If you think that all loans are bad loans, that it's coming from an experience that was that it's what can I say? It blocked your reasoning around debt as a whole, right? And so you want now to learn. It's a balance. You want to learn, well, okay, so what is the right way to go about it, instead of just cutting it off of your life completely? Yeah, that's actually a perfect example of trauma.
Wow, yes. And in fact, an interesting quote from Daniel. One quote my dad left me with, make money the right way. And yes, just to answer your question also, one of the beliefs I had around me was there's no money. So if there's no money, you just sit down and just let things happen, because you can't do anything about it. There's no money.
Yeah, hakuna pesa.
It doesn't grow on trees, yeah. So
yes, that is depending on the extent with which and the frequency within which you had it, that can also have an impact on your outlook on money.
Yes, and before we move forward, just let me share two expectations. One from Pauline. She'd like to learn what money trauma is and find out if it's affecting me in any way. So maybe you can ask Pauline a question. So maybe Pauline, you can also in the chat address what are some of the ideas you've had around money? What voices shaped your relationship with money? You can share that in the chat below. And Wanjiko shares that her expectation is, I can charge what I am worth without feeling like I'm not worth it, or I'm overcharging or undercharging is a disease. Shift my money mentality. Wow, that's a huge one.
Yeah, that's a big one, especially for creatives, for service-based businesses, because it's really a perception. It's how, first of all, how you perceive yourself, and now you need to communicate that to other people. So if you perceive yourself a certain way, then how people will receive you is how you have perceived yourself. So now that's a question of you understanding what your worth is, the power of your skill set, what change you believe you can make. So you constantly have to keep reaffirming that, especially if you have seen the direct impact that what you offer can do. That's where you can start in terms of changing your mindset. If you have seen it with one person, then it's possible to see it with several other people. And when you see what that change has done, what that change has done for the people that you have interacted with, then you can sell that as well. That can help you in terms of charging. But at the heart of that charging is your perception of yourself. What do you believe about yourself? What do you believe about your capacity? What do you believe about your skill set, your talents, and what you can do? Do you actually think that what you can do is good in comparison with other people, in comparison with yourself, with your past self? If you get that to a place where that is loud and clear, then the charging flows from that. But it's self-worth. That's self-worth. That's where it starts.
Well, I like you've shared that, but also I think one thing that may not be obvious that I think we need to address. You see, for example, you've come from banking. Banking is very easy to find all this information that the worth of this product and the skills are very well defined. And like you've aptly said it, this challenge presented is mainly from people in the creative space where their products and services are not as tangible and they're not as spoken highly of like banking. In fact, I remember someone said, if you want to find out what's important in a country, look at what the tallest buildings are. And we can see here, it's the financial sector that has the tallest building. So we're not surprised. There's evidence everywhere. We can easily find information for the banking, but not for creative. So maybe you can help us fill in that gap. Maybe if not now, later on. Jazz shares a thing that, in fact, I think, because since you said that you love Jesus, the question here is the church. Money is the root of all evil. That's what she had, parents, there is no money, never take loans, society, never mix money with friends and family.
Yeah, that church one is, it hits deep, it hits very deep, and it's very true actually as well. And so that's a messaging that that has been going to maybe, let me say, a good percentage of church. If money is the root of all evil, why should I be pursuing it? Or believing that the poorer you are, the closer you are to God. And so any demonstration of wealth or money means that you're shutting yourself away from God. Even the whole idea that it is harder for a rich man to enter heaven, like all these things make you feel like the pursuit of money is wrong. Now, that one for money is the root of all evil is, of course, a misquoting of scripture. And now it has been taught with a misquote. So because the verse actually says it is the love of money that is the root of all evil. And when you look, just that one word can shift the whole interpretation of that text. And also, I think the other thing to keep in mind with scripture is that it needs balance. Sometimes what we do is take 1-2 scriptures and we say so many things about it, we forget what the rest of the scripture says, because the same God is the God of Joseph, who was able to give him strategy for the famine and be able to rescue a whole country and lend people and rescue his own family and other countries as well. It is the same God. It is the same God that we read about the talents, the parable of the talents. The master goes, he has three servants. One of them buries the money that he has been given. 2 of them are able to double. When I talk about money, anytime we talk about returns, anything that gives you 15 to 20% return in Kenya is a good investment. So when I read the Bible and see people who are able to double, that's like 100% return. I'm like, God, tell me what they did. I want to know what they did. So like,
that's a nice prayer. God, tell me what they did to double.
Yes, because if they can do it, I can do it. I want to understand. Yeah. And so it's about again, messaging, right? So, and then when you read the entirety of the text, you get the balance, right? You learn that yes, there's the getting of the money, but there's a way of using it that pleases God and honors God. So it's extremes. You'll find that it's extreme. Even that one for money doesn't grow on trees. It's the extreme of this belief that now creates a scarcity mindset and makes you believe if it is not in abundance, like trees, like leaves and fruits, then that means that it is scarce. If it is scarce, whatever is there, I must hoard it. Whatever I have, I must hoard it. Whatever is there is not enough for all of us, so we must fight for it. It is those extremes that keep building that trauma for at an individual space. Even that one for hakuna pesa. If you keep hearing that, it can result into different behaviors for yourself. So, for example, there's somebody who told me that She had that a lot growing up, such that right now that she works, she's I think 26. She started working, and she would die in her house if she doesn't have money to go to the hospital without asking, because hakuna pesa. Everyone has no money. So she never asks anyone for help because hakuna pesa. So why ask, right? You see that just that simple phrase has multiplied her trauma, actually, even to this point where she is a full-grown adult.
Wow. And you're very right about extremes, because even Pauline shares that, business people are bad because they like money. And it made her feel guilty whenever she did business.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And I'm seeing the correlation between misinformation and well-being. It's like if you get bad information, you're not healthy, both physically, mentally, and even financially. Would you mind just going deeper into that, the relationship between literacy and wellness?
Yes, because the full wellness is knowing how money works, and then financial wellness. What financial wellness is understanding what money is and how it works. Just basically the idea of loans, because there's a lot of misunderstanding and misinformation about and miseducation about loans. So for example, if we take that as an example, learn about how interest rates and all those things, it's good to know. But that does not equate to financial wellness. Just because I know how to invest and where to invest does not automatically mean that I will be financially well. It is the financial literacy coupled with financial psychology that results to financial wellness. So by financial psychology, I just mean your reasoning and your thinking about money, coupled with what you know about how money works. Now, put this together results to financial wellness. As an example, if you know anything about investing, then a key thing you must understand is that when you're trying to invest, the biggest power there is compound interest. Now, compound interest, if I was to explain what compound interest does, that is financial education, that is literacy, that is how money works. You keep money here, it will earn you some interest, that interest will earn you more interest, and you keep doing that. Do that for 10 years, you start seeing your money multiplying. That is how money works. Now, financial psychology is what will keep you from withdrawing from that account at year 3, right? Because we are the ones there's a way in which we are taught about money, that there are rules, and one of the rules is compound interest. But what we forget is that even with the rules is how we as human beings and our emotions interfere with the rules of money. And so we never actually see the fullness of what money can do, because we are constantly interrupting the process, right? So it will be like, I set up my money market fund, I started contributing 10K every single month. And I've been told, if I keep doing that and I earn 8%, in 5 years, I will have X number of shillings or millions or whatever. But at year 3, I'm just like, oh gosh, my friends are taking this trip to wherever, and
Dubai,
and I have all this money in my MMF. I mean, like, should I continue pursuing where I started?
and what's MMF?
MMF is a money market fund. A money market fund where you put your money. It's like very glorified savings account. So it's a type of investment, right? And so if you choose to withdraw and take the trip to Dubai, you have allowed, it's the psychology that has interfered with that process. Because now, like, what your emotions, because you don't want to be left out of this fun. I mean, I've been working all these years, after all, I should give myself a treat.
That's right.
It's the emotions, it's that's the psychology, the emotions and the reasoning that now interfere with the money-making process. And so if you understand the money-making process and understand for yourself how should I think about this money that I'm putting away? What keeps me from withdrawing it? What am I doing? Why am I putting this away in the first place? What will keep me? What would cause me to withdraw it, and how can I keep myself from doing it? All those things is now itself. It's your understanding yourself and your reasoning, and then coupled with the financial literacy that results to financial wellness as a whole. So that don't just pursue the literacy without a complete understanding of the psychology and the psychology of yourself. Yeah.
Wow, my mind has just been blown. You're right. It's the financial psychology that will prevent me from removing the money on year 3 just because my friends are going for this trip to Dubai, and you know, I feel I'm missing out. So
exactly,
the instruments to making wealth is one thing, but now there's a way of thinking about yourself and the beliefs you have around it, which will now unlock how this will work for you.
yes.
And, wow, thank you for sharing that. And yes, we have a comment here that from Ayuma. And thank you, Ayuma, for inviting our guest here. She's dropping so much bombs for me. And I'm sure anyone listening to this also, they are getting value. She's sharing that I personally had to heal my relationship and business. I had to personally heal my relationship with business and taxes. After talking to economists, I now have a more positive attitude towards tax, not to be confused with high tax.
That's interesting, right? Tax. Because just earlier on, I was telling you guys how I am a strong believer that even our corruption problem is because of people's trauma with money.
How
even
so? Yes, and unpack that for us, since when you were sharing that, it wasn't live. So
yeah, because if we think about even our independence, how we achieved independence, like the British came, they had all the power and control of the financial system, and then they were able to do things and access things because the money was flowing from the Queen. And then as humble people, now we are starting to see how money is used, what money can do. And then now they finally decide, okay, we are giving you your independence, run your country. Now the people who are being given the responsibility to run the country, there's a certain way they have lived, you know, without access to this money that the Queen has brought. Like, they have no idea what this money is, what it can do. And for the most part, their lives have been limited by very little. They've learned to live with very little, let me say. And so it's the same people that are being given responsibility to manage billions for countries, for provinces, for the entire country, for provinces, for different states. Now, that's the same problem that has trickled down up to today to our leaders, such that even your MCA, your MP, if you think about how much have they in their regular lives, how much do they have access to, how much do they use in their lives before you dump a $1 billion budget on them? Do they have capacity to know how this money can and should be used? The other thing is that because of that lack that they have grown up with, or that poverty mindset that they have grown up with, they're like, I mean, all this money, like, this is that whole idea of this is my time to eat. It's a manifestation. It's a manifestation of the lack that they have known for a long time. It's also the idea, the way I was saying earlier, that the scarcity, that if money truly is scarce, then the one that is there, I must keep to myself. Or the one that is there, we must all fight for it, you know. And so they fight at a personal level, and not really the country is not really at the forefront. It's their internal reasoning that is actually influencing their decisions with money. After the election, there was this video, I don't know if you saw it, was going around, this man talking about how much he has invested in all the elections. And then he was crying. He's like, these people, they promised they'll vote, they did this, all those things. And then they didn't give him the office, right? They didn't give him what he thought they promised. And so that was his story, right? Imagine somebody else who did invest all the money, gave, they promised to vote, and then he was voted in. What does that make him feel like? All this money I've spent to get into office must come back.
To get it back.
Exactly. And that is trauma that is also speaking. In that case, for the man, he was public about it. He spoke about the pain and the experience of using all his savings and using all of these things to be able to achieve a political office. But there are others who succeed, and they might have the same experiences, but they keep trying. Finally, you get into office, you're like, all these times I've tried, all this money I've used, I've experienced. Yeah, so I think it has levels. That trauma for our politicians, there are several levels, and there are layers that we can unwrap. But those are some of the things that go through my mind as I see our affinity towards debt as a country, the corruption levels, and even just the capacity of our leaders in just handling huge amounts of money.
Wow. In fact, thank you for sharing this. So guys, whoever is watching this, please share this to any politician who is your friend, not your friend representative, so that they can get the experience of being coached by Juliet to unlock financial psychology, so that they can have the right mindset to be able to handle all this money to impact the environment.
Exactly.
Because I feel what you're talking about here are examples of, let me not say financial sickness, but not financial wellness. So then how would you define financial wellness?
How would I define financial wellness? Now, I guess it would be the same thing. Number one, you know how money works, right? You know how the system works. You know how money is made. You know how to invest, what happens when you invest, you know about money market funds, you know about MMFs, you know all those things. And then now at the individual capacity, it's now how you manage now your own personal economy, how your economic life, how you manage it. So the financial wellness increases, so should your quality of life. So if you have a horrible quality of life in terms of even your ability to pay rent, that you sleep hungry because you don't have money to buy food, that's not wellness, right? There's a lack there. But also if you have extremes, like when it's there, like you spend and spend and spend, and then when it's not there, there's also a challenge. Like there's just a mismatch. Like even when you have money, you don't know what it's for and why you have it and how to make it maximize your life. And I would also say that my financial wellness is about clarity about what you want out of life and how money can give you that thing that you want. So if you have clarity about yourself in terms of your value system, in terms of your history with money, you've done the self-work. And I think that's the biggest problem with people. We don't know how to do self-analysis or self-inquiry and self-work. And so you have done the self-work in order to understand what history you have with money and what future you want for yourself. Once you have that clarity, then we can come in and say, yes, money can give you this thing. So now money becomes a means to an end. It is a tool. It is a tool. And once you have that clarity of how to use money to give you the life that you have imagined for yourself, then I call that now financial wellness. You have the past covered, and then you have the future, or the plans for the future clear, and how the past and the future connect, because the past influences your present, right? And the things that you're going to do in the present will influence your future. So if you have a clarity about how your past has influenced your present and you have dealt with it, then now you have clarity about what your present is and where you want to be, then the decisions you're making now will influence the future. That's when I think about that wholesomeness is what I would call the define as financial wellness. You are using money as a tool and as a means to an end, and not an end itself.
Wow. What stood out for me was clarity. Clarity in life, what you want and what you want to achieve. Yes, guys, you are now, if you're logging in right now, we are speaking with Juliet Odhiambo, who is our financial literacy coach. And her aim is to empower Kenyan and Africa be financially literate so that you can take hold of your life and live life to the fullest. And right now, she's just gone ahead and given us an example of definition of financial wellness, which is about clarity. So you mentioned something important, which I think you'll probably answer as we go through this. You mentioned about self-work, self-analysis. What is that? That's not a common thing. And, you know, it's very easy. You've just given the examples of a politician using money to get office, and then they don't go through, and you can see how they're responding. So because this is aptly called money trauma, which I think now I'm starting to see is the absence of clarity, the absence of wellness. Would you mind just expounding more about these examples of trauma, you know, on top of the ones we've explored today?
Yeah, so I've worked with people, like I said, I work with a lot of people one-on-one. And so I get to see different variations. Sometimes it's the same problem, but it manifests differently for different people. So I picked two examples that I hope people can be able to relate with. So somebody says, I think I have the financial irresponsibility of my dad and the financial anxiety of my mom. I attach a level of guilt with spending and also feel very worried that I am not setting up a financial future that offers me security. One of the things that really helped, that really, let me say, stood out for me, for this person, because she had done some self-work. She could see, like, this one is coming from my dad, this one is coming from my mom. I can see how I absorbed their own fears and their anxieties into my own life. So this is not a manifestation of who I am. It is a manifestation of the environment within which I grew up in. So what we had to do a lot is disassociate her from that spending guilt, help her understand what the guilt was, where it was coming from, and why she felt worried about money, because worry is one of those traumas as well, like something that have influenced why you are so prone to being worried and concerned. There are people who are just so carefree also. So the extreme, again, we need to identify, unpack that, where it's coming from, and then given that we have identified that these are the problems, then these are the steps that you can take to deal with that. Then this other example says, my main financial goal has been not to make the same mistakes like my family, especially mom. I am so anxious about money because I'm afraid of making the same mistakes. I've become so afraid of spending money and running out of money. Again, she's done that self-work. Like she could identify, this right, I want financial goals, I want to be financially independent, but is it really because it is a good thing, or is it because I'm trying to escape from a past experience or an experience that I had, you know? So sometimes you could actually be doing the right thing, or what financial education says you should do, but when you really think about it, why are you doing it? Are you doing it because you've learned it's good to do, or are you doing it because history has shown me that I must do this thing, right? So for example, the person who said, I learned from an early age that I should not borrow. All right, don't borrow, but are you borrowing because the loan is bad, it's too expensive, it's not set up for you, you can't afford it? Or are you not borrowing because of the experience that came from the past, right? At any given time, it might be a good idea not to borrow. not negating that. But your reason for not borrowing should not be influenced by a factor that is coming from not the facts that you should be looking at the present, right? Normally, if you hear about money conversations out there, any books and things like that, the saver, the person who saves, the person who finds it easy to save, is always looked at like the better person than the spender, right? At least you have money in your bank account, so everyone is trying to become a saver, but you can be a saver that is motivated by fear of lack, and so your reaction is to hoard, and you hoard in the bank. So you just like seeing that money there. That is not a healthy relationship with money. Like, you're doing the right thing, which is to save, but what is the motivation of it, right? So saving in itself is not a problem, but are you motivated by fear, or are you motivated by a clarity of what you want your future to look like? And therefore, you know how much exactly you want to save, because you must be able to do ABCD because that's important to you, not because this happened to me in the past.
Wow.
Right? And I just want to as a wrap up of these examples, I want to say that these behaviors are learned, right? Whether you're a spendthrift or you're a saver, these are learned behaviors. I did interact with a client who, by the time she was coming to me, she had done some self-work. She had done therapy, she had gone for therapy and etc. for other reasons. And so when she went for therapy, one of the things that came out of therapy, which was as a by the way, they find out that she has that spending guilt. So she feels, unless it's absolutely necessary, she doesn't feel like she should be spending money. And so what the therapist helped her to do was to learn to spend on herself, understand that she is worth the buying herself a dress because she has worked for it, she can afford it. So that's the self-work that they had done. Now, by the time she was coming to me, it had moved from spending guilt to an extreme spender, right? So she was now coming to me because, Juliet, I'm spending too much. I earn a lot of money. I'm spending too much money. I feel I could do more with it, but I can't control my spending. This same person who had a difficult time spending, but because of that self-work that had happened, she had moved to an extreme. Now, not that the therapy was bad, the therapist was not a financial expert. So a financial person would have told her, yes, spend, but what's the balance? The balance is that you want this money to serve you today, but you also want it to serve you tomorrow. And so even as you spend on yourself, you need to be clear about what you want to be able to achieve, and so that you are creating a balance between the present and the future, right? So without that thing that was bringing the balance, she moved from one extreme to the next. And so now we're working to rein her in so that she has clarity about what she wants to do and how she can put a plan in place for that. But my emphasis there is that these things are learned. You saw it, you had it, you experienced it, and so you took it in as the truth, and now that became your reality. Yeah.
In fact, we have a question here from Kerubo that sort of ties in with just the example you've given, is how does one adequately do the financial self-work to know the money trauma one has, and then work through them to a point of wellness?
Fantastic question.
Because from what you're sharing, it seems that one cannot learn it alone. They need a therapist or someone first, or a coach like you. But is there maybe some tools before they come to you that, some basics?
Yeah. So I do use some tools to help people identify, but they are pretty simple tools in my opinion. The thing is usually interpretation of the results. So sometimes, because you are the one in it, it's not easy to interpret what we are seeing. Sometimes I can just read the results and I can connect the dots much better than you doing it yourself. But I definitely think that you can start the process, right? So just start by going back in history and just asking yourself certain things. about how you grew up, whether money was available or not, what your experiences and the messaging, that first, one of those first slides we had, what have you learned about it? Out of that, then you can start pinpointing. I do believe you can start pinpointing what the traumas are. I don't know if you heard of or know of money personalities. People also talk about money personalities. Now, money personalities are what people say, what your money story is, or what you believe about money, or what your behavior of money is. And there are many different types of money personality tests. I am a believer that those money personality tests are a manifestation of trauma. So if you can do the test and see what you are, you'll actually see that what the trauma is that you're struggling with, or you identify with, right? So normally the tools I use in my coaching program is a financial history test or worksheet, where we just go through some questions that will help you ask. That's a process of self-inquiry. Ask certain questions of yourself, and then we will do a money personality test. That out of that test, then I will make the connection between the test and the history, and then we also do a money attitude test, so that we can also the money attitude test itself. I also do the connection. I see how you answered this, I connect it with how you answered this other one, and then I can be able to also make the connection. But simple things you can do is, if you can find a money personality test, or if you can do some financial history for yourself analysis, you might be able to pick up what your traumas are. And then the other thing is to know that a behavior that you have lived for 25 years is not going to change overnight, right? It's not going to, you're not going to wake up now that you know that now you have dealt with it. No, that's not how it works. How some of these things work, because mindsets are so ingrained in your life, you have to do a lot of work to get out of it. Believe it or not, one of the traumas, my own money wounds that I had, was a belief system that I cannot, and I do not have a business bone in me. I was not set up to set up a business or run a business. That was not my story. And I was very happy and comfortable to be employed for the rest of my life. Actually, I remember working into my first month being employed at this wonderful bank, and just looking at the potential career progression within the institution. I was like, it's huge. It's huge. They have all these roles. It doesn't end in Kenya. You can move everywhere. I was like, this is the place. Me, I'm staying here until I retire. That's actually a decision I had made for myself, until God started telling me, but there's this thing I want you to do, and it can only be done within the context of business. And so that started the self-work for me to actually think and believe that I can actually run a business. And it has taken a lot to move me from that mindset to even just from the first time I said, this is my service, and this is how much you are going to pay me for this service. It has taken a lot of self-work to be able to do that. While I've come a long way, I still believe that I have a long way to go. This is after 4 years of that self-work and 4 years of running a business, right? And so you want to know that this, whatever you identify, might not stop overnight, or in a month, or in 2 days, but it's that conscious and continuous self-work that needs to be done. Once you identify this is the step, course correction, then do it continuously until you start to see change. Yeah.
Wow. In fact, yeah, someone is just asking here, they'd like to just get that quick summary for the tools of self-inquiry. You remember the first one is doing the money history. The second one is the financial personality test. And what was the third one? It's
a money attitude test. Again, these are tools that I have in my armor. So I'm not sure where else you could get it. But at least the money history, you can definitely do it yourself.
Okay. So as you said in your toolbox, Madam Sherlock Holmes, can you please tell us, what can we look for? What are some of the signs that one has money trauma?
Yeah, I think I've talked about some of them, like yes, the overspending and the underspending. So these are pretty common. traumas that I see. And the idea here is that it's an extreme. You remember the example I've used? She started from one extreme of underspending and moved to an extreme of overspending. All of them are manifestations of some sort of trauma. So you want to, so let me talk about the overspending. So normally the overspending is that someone would come to me because they can see they spend a lot of money, right? And so they would probably come to me and tell me, Juliet, I spent too much. Can you help me build a budget, for example, so that I can put myself in check, right? So I could do that, and that's ideally what I used to do before. I could do that, but if we don't identify why you are an overspending, why you're an overspender, we'll do that budget, and within 3 months, you'll be back and tell me the budget doesn't work, right? So when somebody comes and tells me that, I'll be like, okay, so why do you spend? What triggers you to spend? In what situations do you feel like you spend more? So often you'll find that it's a reaction to some sort of emotion, something happened, I was feeling sad, etc. This is why retail therapy actually is a thing, and it works. Retail therapy works. So you go and shop, and you feel nice, but you only feel nice until the next time you feel bad, right? And then you go and shop again. So that's why it becomes a cycle, right? So somebody like that would want to find out. Now let's find the root problem of the trigger, and then let's find a solution, a permanent solution for that trigger. Now it is normally in this part of the work that you people now start feeling like this is therapy, although me, I'm not a therapist, right? I am not a therapist, but I experienced that I can tell you, do this, to an extreme beyond where I can manage, then I do refer people to therapists because that can be an actual problem that needs more trauma specialists to do that. I come in from the financial side, right? So that's one sign that you have some trauma, the overspending, the underspending as well. So this is somebody who cannot spend even when they have enough money to spend. And it's extreme or excessive risk aversion. That's the one that comes from the scarcity mindset. It comes from the belief that the money that they have needs to be hoarded and kept, right? So those are common extremes. The other one is that financial avoidance. So financial avoidance, this is somebody who doesn't want to talk about money, doesn't want to look at money. There was this video that was going around on Instagram of somebody making an M-Pesa payment and closing their eyes at the same time because they don't see the balance of the M-Pesa. That is a classic avoidance. You don't want to see what your bank statements are telling you. You don't want to look at your M-Pesa statements. You don't want to have conversations about money. You're married, normally for the wives now, you're married, you would rather your husband takes care of the money. After all, he's the head of the house. Shida zote za pesa ni zake, right? So you generally just keep off any money conversations. Normally, they come from also a fear or an anxiety or a belief that all these money things are so complicated. So in my experience, avoidance can be helped by just learning. When you learn about some of these things, they stop being this big thing. So just educate yourself about investing, educate yourself about budgeting, educate about how money works. Normally, then the avoidance is usually dealt with a little bit to a good extent, unless it's also coming from something else. Then when you have just negative thought patterns around money, around loans, like, okay, so some experiences can have such big impacts on us that we start believing ourselves and that thing at one and the same, right? So this is connected with the shame from the financial history. Shame either from how you grew up or decisions that you made that you're just like, I can't believe I'm the one who did that, or I can't believe I'm the one who got scammed, being scammed large amounts of money, for example, and you can't forgive yourself. And so another one was somebody who ended up, in one way or another, she ended up having 5 million shillings in debt. And she now just believes that me, I'm bad with money because I have 5 million shillings in debt. So you have a negative thought about yourself because of decisions you have made, or because of experiences that you had. So how you believe and what you think about yourself, if you already identify that as negative, that's a sign that you have some trauma that you need to identify, narrow down zero in on, and then do some self-work around that. Then there's a lack of boundaries or a discomfort in setting boundaries around finances. This especially when it comes to family and friends. Friends more so, especially when you think about black tax and all that, you're not able to communicate. Yes, I want to help, but I only want to go until this point, because beyond that, it's not healthy for my finances to be able to do that. Now, I say this, and I know it's easier said than done, right? And I'm very much aware of that, and that's why I say some of these things they don't shift overnight, right? It's just continuously reinforcing a boundary, because I think my experience has been that with or just generally this whole idea of black tax is that people come to a place where they're
and what is black tax?
Ooh, black tax. Thank you for asking. I keep throwing things here and assuming people know what I'm saying. Black tax is a tax that is essentially for Black people. That's where it's coming from. It's a tax that mostly Black people are the ones who carry. And this is the idea that your people or your ancestors, people before you, experienced extreme lack of opportunities, lack of information, lack of money making, even money, for example. And then you come to this place where now you're the one who has a job, you're being paid well, and all those things. And so you must carry the weight of the lack from the past, whether it is your parents or your siblings. And so you, because you're now earning and you have a good job, you must take care of them. They don't now have jobs, you must feed them, you must pay your siblings' school fees, you must do all those things. So your money is always going backward rather than forward, right? And the reason I believe is called tax is because it's a burden. It becomes a burden. I don't think as a community, as Africans or as Black people, we are afraid of helping people. Yeah, helping, I think, community, Ujamaa, all those things are part and parcel of our culture. But the moment it becomes a heavy thing to carry, I think that's when it becomes a tax, right? Because you are unable to do it and it's heavy on you. Like even when you look at your situation, you can't to do all those things, right? And some people have this guilt as well that I'm the successful one. I must be able to help people where I can. But what that happens is that it happens at the expense of your financial health. So you, instead of planning for your own retirement, so pay yourself forward and plan for your retirement, that money that could be planning for your retirement is going backward and it's helping other people. It's paying for things that for people who were not able to access in the past. So what will happen is that you will reach that place of retirement, and then you will also now not have money because you are not planning for it. And so the people who come after you now will be also now paying backward, but they're paying to you because you didn't do that work of preparing for yourself. And so we perpetuate a cycle, a poverty cycle, such that I was not able to save for retirement because I was paying for my siblings and my parents. And so because I did that, my child is the one who will become my retirement plan. And now the same child will not also now be able to plan for their own retirement because they're taking care of you. And so it just goes on and on and on and on. Now, somebody somewhere needs to break this cycle. And that person carries the brunt of whatever consequences comes with taking a stand. I actually believe strongly that if you are in that situation where there's no expectation for your money, there's no expectation for your finances, you don't have to take care of anyone or anything, you are one of the luckiest people around, and you better be taking advantage of that luck in order to plan for your own future. because there are people who really want to, but they are stuck with this thing that they are carrying, and that's actually a very common trauma as well for Kenyans, for Africans in general. Yeah.
Wow, I can see how that can be it doesn't help cultivate wellness on all fronts, because if you're always stressed, then you're like, I'm just thinking about money, money, money. Wow. And even as you've been sharing some of the signs of money trauma, some people have been reacting here like, oh my God, I'm the underspender, financial avoidance. And someone just said that medicine for it is to educate yourself on money. And, the shame from being scammed, bad decisions or experiences, and the unforgiveness. Wow. And yeah, someone sharing here that the poverty cycle is carried down generationally, broken when there is no such expectation of you. And in fact, this is very interesting, because you see, as a coach, you provide a safe space to have things discussed. You've said you do the self-analysis, self-history, what have you. If any person had a privilege to have this with their parent, I think it would be like, 1% or less. How does one even start the healing process of this money trauma?
Yeah, so healing starts by first identifying that there's a problem. You first acknowledge that there's a problem, right? You cannot heal from something you don't know and acknowledge exists. So it starts with that self-inquiry. And so all that money history that you want to do, go back, think through. When I was in primary school, even before primary school, for example, if you can, so some of us, our memory starts at class 3. Some people start when they're 5 years old. So wherever, as far back as you can remember, what was your interaction with money in primary school, in high school, in secondary school, all of those things as after, and then into campus. What was your, or if you didn't go after that, what was your experience with money? Even sometimes not just necessarily saying this was experience was bad, just write what the experience was. Yeah, whether it was in abundance or it wasn't in abundance. Whether, if you can remember, sometimes it's just such stories that when I hear, sometimes for somebody who wasn't in that place or at that time, they can't connect. But for you, like, it's a memory that has stuck, and you always remember about that time. There's a guy I was working with, and he was saying there's a time, I don't know, they had traveled with the brother and the dad, and the dad left them in a hotel. And in the hotel, he told them to eat, gave them money and told them to eat, I think, order food and eat as he comes back. So he went, and then they decided that this is 200 shillings we have been given. Let's spend 100 on food. Let's eat food worth 100 bob, and then keep their 100 bob for ourselves for whatever other thing they want to do. And then I think the waiter or the one of the restaurants knew how much they had been given, and so told the dad when the dad came, these people have eaten not food worth not all this. Ooh, the lashing they got from that day has never left his mind. Like, it has stuck to date. He is 35 years old, but he still remembers this experience that happened when he was 9 years old. And so when he does his money history, it's such things that come to mind. And now it's a question of, like, what did that experience make you feel or believe about money that you still carry to date? Yeah. So that self-inquiry is the first step. And then acknowledge that because of this has happened. Because of this is my reality right now. This is how it has impacted me right now. And this is what it has caused me to become or live like. And then talk about it. Find platforms to talk about it. So now in my coaching, now I give you opportunity to talk about it. Identify and just release. Sometimes it's a question of removing something that has sat in your heart and mind, and just engage in terms of the impact that it has had on you. And that's step number 2. Then after we've done that, let's now define what is the healthy, what is the relationship you want to have based on your experience. What are the areas that you might find that you want to shift and change to a more healthy place? And then identify. Could be one or two things that now you want to start to do. And then if you find that there are extremes that you had, then engage a professional, whether it's a therapist or you just want clarity on what your future plans should be, in which case I could help with just your financial plan. Yeah, those would be my suggestions of things you should do and can do to work on your money trauma.
Wow. In fact, when Jiko is asking here, how do I deal with poverty mentality? It's because I've heard over and over again about there being no money. How does one contact you? We will give Juliet's contact at the end of the presentation, her number, email, and how you can get in touch with her. And yes, go ahead and also thank Ayuma. Thank you, Ayuma, for inviting Juliet to VALK Talks so that we can get our money situation right. Wow, this is indeed a journey that needs assistance. You know, it's not something that, you know, just like when Juka shared, you can't just do it once, or you hear something once and you do it. Like you aptly mentioned, 25 years of practicing poverty mindset cannot be changed after this presentation, you know? And I think you've mentioned a little bit of what to do, the steps of how to be good with money. Maybe you could just summarize that for us, and maybe we could have an open session where guests could ask more questions and just share their comments.
Yeah, so I would just say that being good with money, in my definition of being good with money, is really not so much about understanding adding and subtracting, balancing a budget, investments, interest rates and returns and ratios. All of that is important, but first and foremost, being good with money is just understanding how you think and how you reason about money, and where that has come from, and now determining whether that's something you want to persist with until your old age or until death. Because to be honest, unless a trauma or a money wound is identified or challenged, you can actually remain and think like that until you die, right? And unless you find somebody asking you, but that's not, why do you think like that? Why? That's not true. That's not the reality. That being challenged is something that we need to if it doesn't happen, then you might not be able to fully identify that you have a problem. If in which case you might end up being like that until death, until you die, basically. So contextualize or redefine what being good with money is, redefine what financial wellness is, and attack how you think and how you reason. Attack it, question it, dissect it, especially if it is influencing your current money behavior, if it is influencing what you do and believe about money. You want to be able to attack that as well. So identify the trauma, identify the wound, understand the connection between your money mindset, behavior, and your personality. Get clarity as well for your financial situation. And also now for the future, align those financial values with financial goals, right? So this is what I do when I work with people. This is usually the first step I usually say that we need to start with before we even talk about your budget. So it normally takes a total of 4 sessions, plus the exercises, the tools that I've just mentioned, to cover all of these things, these top 4 things. And I usually say, even by the time we get there and we don't go beyond there, I feel like I've left you in a good place. You're healthier, you're safer. Now go and work on your budget, given the tools that I have just given you. Yeah. So it's a 4 sessions, and I charge about 5,000 shillings for that whole entire experience. Yeah.
Wow, that's very affordable. And
right. I've been accused of undercharging.
Well, I think yeah, guys, take advantage of this opportunity that it is affordable right now. And yes, you know, what I'm happy is you've shared a lot about psychology of money, which I notice a lot of programs do not do. And someone has just shared a very powerful question. You know, I've had a lot of talk about boundaries, but boundaries tends to come from females or women. But, you know, so men do not know how to apply it. So even there's a gentleman here who's sharing that. Is there such a thing as financial opaqueness for one's own sake? For instance, I have realized that I'm perhaps too honest with my parents about my money sources, and this has made me more prone to black taxation. How do I overcome this?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Part of boundaries, just not sharing what your salary is, because by doing, you're already raising their expectations. It becomes our money. It's not your money anymore. So you kind of actually lose control. You lose control over the power over your own money. And so they always, even when you how do I say this? So I worked with a client who told me once that her first salary, she was still living at home, and so every time she was paid, they would have a whole conversation. So what are we doing this month with our money? What are we going to do? It was not until she moved out that she got control over her own finances, and part of her creating that boundary was she needed to move out. And financial opaqueness is necessary when it is for your financial health. Avoid financial opaqueness in situations of intimacy where the transparency is necessary, because I also work with couples, right? I work with couples, and it's this, you know, the thing they say that it is money is the leading cause of divorce. It's actually one of the reasons I see is because of people's trauma that they come with it. You all come with yours, you come with yours, and then you're coming here in the marriage. You are an overspender, you're an underspender, then you're somehow expected to work together, and you don't know why do you, so you're constantly arguing about why do you overspend. You don't know yourself, you actually don't know why you do it. And so it's constantly bickering and fighting and all those things that no grace is extended, because there's no clarity about those situations, about yourself. You don't have that clarity. And so I find this to be really, really useful for couples as well, because of that. But yeah, just to answer the question, if you need to keep your salary to yourself because it enables you to create your own plans, then yeah, that's a boundary you need to set up. Just not, well, now that they already know, it just means that the next time you get a raise, perhaps don't share it, and create your own plan for it first, before, because it raises an expectation. They'll be like, even whatever you spend money on for yourself will not be good enough. They'll be like, but you could have built that fence for us. After all, you have that money, right? So it builds an expectation. That's what it does. When they know, they'll be like, it builds that expectation. I think a more healthier way to go about it is to decide, given that I earn all this much, and I do want to be a blessing to my parents, and I do want to also save for retirement, I think these are the limits I'm going to draw for myself, and then now sit them down and say, going forward, this is what I'm willing and able to offer. And you keep reinforcing what you have determined for yourself. And you can explain that you want to have more plans for yourself, but you don't need to give the nitty-gritties of that plan.
Wow, thank you very much for that. In fact, yes, Henry says, thank you very much for sharing. And yes, another question here that I've heard of situations like this and would like you to throw some light on it. How do you balance how much you earn versus how much you spend and how much you can save? So if you earn 50K and your expenses are 51K, how do you save in a situation like that?
That's it's again self-work. You need to be able to identify. Usually what I do, and I actually do the first thing I do here as part of getting you clarity, is to help you define what things are important to you in your life. And even in terms of budgeting and saving, we start by prioritizing those things. We prioritize. So say, for example, you say that you have a child and it's really important to you that they go to school. And so you must start planning for their schooling, right? That's a goal. That's a financial goal that you have. Or you say that I want to retire well, and it's going to cost me this much to retire well. And so in order to do that in 10, 25 years, I need to start doing X shillings today. So we have written and identified what your financial goals, we've done the mathematics, and we have seen what that translates to on an annual basis or whatever frequency your income comes in. So what I say, prioritize those things. Prioritize the plans that you have, and then look at what remains and create a life with what remains. Yeah. It might, what it does is that it forces, there are two things it does. It forces you to look at places that you could potentially be overspending on that are not useful to you in the bigger scheme of things. And so when you really analyze, you can be like, yeah, I think I can live in a cheaper house so that I can do this thing that I think is very important to me. The other thing it does is that it will force you to increase your income, because you'll be like, I have so many things that I want to do. I cannot do it with 50,000 shillings. I must make more money. How do I make more money? Let's go and write another goal for revenue increase. Yeah.
Wow, wow. Yes, in fact, someone is asking, can they get access to these slides in preparation for their session with you? You know, how can they get in touch with you?
Slides, I don't know about slides, but if you want to get in touch with me.
These ones right here.
These ones. Well, I guess it's okay, right? I think the team already has it. But in terms of getting in touch with me, I am on Instagram, I'm on WhatsApp, I'm on email. I do a lot more of my work on Instagram actually. And if you are ready to book your four sessions with me, you can just send me a message and I'll tell you how to go about it. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Any more questions? If there are no more questions, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go ahead and go down the list and just have each one of you say one thing about this session. What was your aha moment from this? What clarity did you get? So I'll just go ahead and start. So Ali, please unmute yourself and just share one aha moment for you from this presentation.
Hi, thanks so much. What I'd like to say is especially getting to know things like money history. That was a big eye opener. That kind of just laid it there for you to look back and see exactly why you are in this situation, looking back at what you heard and your own experiences. And actually, as that was going on, I was thinking about my personal experience. But overall, an amazing presentation. Thank you so much, Juliet. We've learned so much, and yeah, I'm going to look for that 5K. Thank you.
Wow, thank you for that feedback, Ali. Yes, Ayuma, please unmute yourself. And what was one thing from this session?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Awesome. So for me, it's always just a pleasure to listen to Juliet. I mean, I had the pleasure of her coaching me. So I can definitely tell you guys that it is worth the investment. I loved attending this webinar because it helped me confirm that I definitely did the right thing and I'm on the right journey. Of course, nothing changes overnight, but it just reaffirmed that I'm definitely on the right path. Yeah, that's it for me.
Wow, thank you for that, Ayuma, and thank you for inviting Juliet to VALK Talks. We appreciate you sharing the resources that are impacting your life, and we are also beneficiaries. Bilha
You're welcome.
Kenya. Bilha Kenya, meet yourself.
Oh, hi. Hey, hi.
Hi, Bilha.
Even though I was multitasking, I'm just really amazed at the correlation between my personal financial decisions and the financial trauma that I have learned about today. So I've been brought up to speed, educated, enlightened, and yeah, like Ali, I'm going to hustle for that 5K.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Bilha. Yes, next, Caroline. Please unmute yourself. And what's one thing that has impacted you about today's session? Caroline? Okay, as Caroline sorts herself out, Daniel, please unmute yourself. Do share with us one thing that has impacted you about this session. Daniel?
Thanks, Andrew. Well, I'm the one who had raised the question earlier regarding my story and finding the balance between being of impact and, the need to, make financial gain. And what Juliet shared has released a load off me where she said, I don't have to choose anymore. And I don't think I'm going to argue with that in my mind anymore. I just don't have to just live life, what may will. And also just rather around what financial wellness and questioning, I'm going to question myself around that. And I think there's a lot that me and Juliet will discuss in the near future, especially when I'll contact her with my wife. I think there's a lot of creative work. Thanks.
Wow, thank you very much for that, Daniel. E. Kerubo, please unmute yourself and let's hear what is one thing that has stood out for you from this presentation.
Thank you, Juliet, for your time. We have interacted with Juliet in different circles, and it's always a pleasure to learn from you. One of the things that has stood out for me in this session is the necessity for the ongoing self-work and the comfort and assurance that it's an ongoing process. It's always a work in progress. And that just gives me the extra kick to keep going. So thank you so much, Juliet. Tutaonana nyuma tent, as they say.
Yes, that's a very powerful sentiment, that this is a practice. It's something you practice like an athlete. So if you want to become like Kipchoge of money, it's something we have to constantly, day in, day out, have that assistance of the coach to help us unpack our blind spots around our reasoning. The coaches provide that safe space that our people, in our lives may not necessarily provide that safe space. So it's very humbling. Yes, thank you for articulating that, E. Kerubo. And yes, Henry, you are next. Please unmute yourself and do share with us one takeaway you've gotten from this.
Okay, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Henry.
Okay, thank you. For me, it was like going to the hospital, and Juliet is such a good doctor because she just diagnosed me with the lack of boundaries. And I'm going to look for the money for the medicine, which is a 5K, and I'll definitely go for the medicine. So thank you very much. I'm not going to tell my parents the next gig I do. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, Henry, I can so identify with you, just, yeah, as men, that there's no talk really about boundaries. You just hear women talking about boundaries. So this is really eye-opening. And yes, thank you for sharing that. James, please, you're next. Unmute yourself. What is one thing you can share about what you've taken away from this? Maybe something others have not shared. And yes, go ahead, James.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
For me, it was the issue to do the background check, my history with money. And I also would like to say that I've also been diagnosed I didn't have a very good history with money. Coming from a background whereby there was scarcity mentality. There was no any financial education. But gathering from what Juliet has shared today, I'll just have to, look at myself deeply, go back and then, identify the areas that money trauma was introduced in my life, and and moving forward, also try commit and look for the money and gain more financial education, and also interact with people who are ahead of me in terms of financial freedom, and also lastly the issue of wellness. It has also really done something good for me. Thank you so much, Juliet, and thank you for the organizers for this opportunity.
Thank you, James, for attending. Yes, we have King E. Please unmute yourself, King E, and let's hear your takeaway.
Hello. Good morning from here.
Wow.
Okay, first of all, thank you so much, Juliet, for that session. Very, very insightful. I didn't get to just one, but I'll try as much as I can to reduce it. I think the first thing for me is the fact that because you are saving doesn't mean that you are, you have financial balance. That idea of people, when you see someone saving, if you start feeling bad about your life, what's going on here. And another thing that I think is important to note is the fact that whether you like it or not, whether you want to make impact or not, you have to consider money. You have to talk about money. You have to think of money, how to balance it, because like I always say, if you don't have gas in your house and you're hungry, you may not be creative, or you won't be creative. So regardless whether you want to make impact or you don't want to make impact, money is important. And finally, it's a process, right? Know that you have financial deficiency, if I'm allowed to say it like that. Accept where you are and work towards getting better. Thank you so much for the session. I appreciate it.
Thank you, King E. Yes, Lucy, please unmute yourself and share with us your takeaway. Lucy?
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much, Juliet. This was awesome. So what can I say? I'd like to encourage everyone to reach out to Juliet, because my husband and I paid an arm and a leg to do this thing. And what was so eye-opening for us was the money personality. And we discovered that we are opposites, and you can keep fighting and fighting about something just because you have different perspective and different money personalities. So I just encourage everyone to reach out to Juliet. I wish I knew about you, Juliet, before, because I'd not have spent so much, but yeah, this was awesome. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Lucy. Wow. Don't spend an arm and a leg on ignorance, because ignorance will do that to you. Yes, Marcellus, please unmute yourself and please share us your takeaway from this.
First of all, I would like to say thank you to Juliet for the very educative and everything. I've learned a lot of things, and for now, I think I've learned and I've identified my financial trauma, and I will work very hard to work on it and rectify it. So I think it has been an insightful session. Thank you.
Do you think it's something that you want to share with us, what you've discovered, or you'll share another time?
Yes, I can share it. I think it's been understanding with the fear that what if tomorrow I don't have the opportunity to have that money. So I think it is understanding. That is the problem that I've been having.
Wow. Thank you very much, Marcellus. Yes, we have Pauline up next. What is your main takeaway? what did Juliet reveal for you today and what you're going to do about it?
Wow, Juliet, thank you so much. That was amazing. I really enjoyed that. I've learned so much. Ayuma, thank you for recommending her. This is really good. I'm actually thinking about looking for you at some point. Yeah, I realize I do have some money trauma. There's some anxiety sometimes, and yeah, this is really, really good. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing, Pauline. And yes, Wanjiko, please unmute yourself. Let's hear, what's your main takeaway from this? What has Juliet revealed for you today, and what you're going to do about it?
Hey.
Hello, Wanjiko.
Interesting, very interesting topic, because money conversations are very uncomfortable, and it's good to know I'm not the only one with that problem, because yes, I'm the kind of person who can die in the house, so that first I don't borrow, and then also because of anxiety of tomorrow. So thank you, Juliet, for that. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you privately. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Wanjiko. Yes, we have 15 minutes left. So any more questions or comments, recommendations, stuff that you wish you could learn more in depth, maybe we could have another session in the future with Juliet, please do share. And let me bring on Jazz, who is our admin. Jazz, what is one thing that stood out for you in this session?
Wow, what didn't stand, honestly? Like the hair at the back of my neck, like, that's me, yeah. I mean, somebody who can just affirm the insanity. You know what I mean? It's like, we're not crazy. There is a logic to this madness, because I think, you know, when you're growing up, you read these books like from Trump, you know, how to make the deal and how to negotiate. And it's like you get the finished product of a very complicated thought process. And so, you know, you try and you try and you try and you can't figure out why is it not working for me, and, you know, there's something wrong with me. So, you know, I'm a classic avoidant, you know, and so it's really refreshing that this knowledge is coming up now. And I think, you know, when the students are ready, the teacher arrives. So this is, I feel, a very special moment for all of us here. And thank you, Juliet, so much for that knowledge, like the bombs of wisdom that have been, I mean, my mind is still spinning. Obviously, I'm part of the group, take a ticket, sit down and wait for your turn. But yeah, it's like, is it first come, first serve? I don't know if you get an M-Pesa this afternoon. Thank you so much. That was mind-blowing. Just absolutely, like, very, very excited to know that there's steps you can take towards healing. So there are options, people. There are options. Very, 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 very good talk. Absolutely.
Your intros are always amazing. Thank you so much, Julia. That was very exciting. And it always blows me away how much our past lets, like you said, our present, therefore our future can use a lot. And it's another reason why we all need to fix up parenting. We don't really little children understand that in the economy, especially the battle that we're dealing with now. Me, it wasn't a scarcity mentality of Africa.
Is it just me, or Jennifer is just cutting in and out?
Yeah, it sounds like she's in a bubble somewhere.
Okay, maybe try turning off your video. Sometimes that helps with if the bandwidth is low. Okay, try and speak now, Jennifer. Okay, if you're speaking, we can't hear you.
Any better?
Okay, how do you say
Is
any
any
better? Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So sorry, start again from the beginning. We missed a lot.
Oh no. To summarize, I was saying that what Juliet had clear is that whole financial history that we have to do is critical, because somewhere somehow this economy African history she shared about how we made this working with this new colony where we really didn't have scarcity back then. We had a lot of food, we had a lot of time. This fast economy that's run by money is now something we weren't educated into. But thankfully, with people like Juliet and just the conversations like this, we can get out of those blockages and see. This one was a big takeaway for me. The money is a means to an end. So when you have clarity, it seems to be the name of the day, the why, even to meet the needs or be that we creatives and want to make impact, the money becomes a means rather than how would you put it? It doesn't stop at it. So the more you have, you can do, as it were. I would love to know more about loans because I do have some serious blocks about loans. So yeah, I may be talking to Juliet as well privately. But all in all, this has been very, very insightful, and I'm very grateful. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Yes. Thank you very much. That was Her Excellency Jennifer Canary. And yes, I just want to say that, guys, still have 9 minutes. This is your time with Juliet. So take full advantage of this time. If not, we're going to go ahead and end it here, and you can go and meditate on what you've listened to, what you've heard. Start the process of self-analyzing. And if you need help, like you said, behind the curtain, behind the tent, reach out to Juliet. She shared her Instagram, she shared her number, she shared her email address. And yes, this is a VALK talk where we strive to empower you voiceover artists. And even though you're not a voiceover artist, the principles and ideas shared here are a way of getting you to improve your life to where you want it to be. And yes, please stay tuned in for our Vox talk later on Friday, where we're going to be unpacking the things that we learned from the VoiceOver Africa conference that we had. There was so much learning. So this is your opportunity to share, dissect what you've learned and picked up. Don't just go for a voiceover conference or an event and you like what you heard. What did you get out of it? Where are you failing in execution? And what can we set up as a practice for you to become that voiceover artist that is impactful? And yes, by the way, Juliet, I think you've missed to mention that Juliet also has money planners. Juliet, would you mind just talking to us a little bit about what is a money planner and how can we get access to them?
All right. Yeah, thanks for that. I do have it is an actual planner. It's a book. Okay, I am blurred, but it is an actual book. If you come to my Instagram page, you will see it. but it's a planner that's meant to help with budgeting, with setting financial goals, with tracking people you have borrowed from, people you have lent from, and then on a month-on-month basis, you also review the progress that you're making with your finances, whether it's in terms of budgeting, your expenses, and anything else that you want to review on a monthly basis. So the monthly is set up, the planner is set up like that to walk you through an entire year. At the beginning of the year, you write your max 3 goals, then you track expenses and expenditure throughout the year. So it's a 12-month planner. Yeah, I also feel I need to say that, gosh, being here with all your wonderful voices I feel like there's something God did not give me. Like, is this something I can do to make my voice sound as wonderful as all of you? Listening to all of you speak was like, wow, can I just stay here?
Yes, you can. In fact, that's why we're a community, and one mantra of the voiceover industry is everyone has a voice. There is a market for you with your tone, whether you feel it's strange, weird, what have you. There is a character, there is an industry, there is a place where your voice fits perfectly. So reach out, join VALK. We have our coaches there that will guide you on practicing so that your voice becomes the best it can be to take over, because the beauty of the voiceover industry is it is international. It is not just Kenyan. It's not just African. So you might find there's that international company that says, oh my God, your voice represents our brand. So please, we'd like to have you.
Nice, nice.
And before we go, someone was just asking, what is the personality test that you recommend, the online ones? I know you just say search, but like you said, you're a coach, you can tell the one that will give you nice results, or the results that explain nicely and clearly.
Yeah, that's I think the one I use is from, if you go to Dave Ramsey, I don't know if you've heard of Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey, I guess for me, is a key player in the financial education space. He has enemies and he has fans. I am one of his fans. So Dave Ramsey has a money personality test that I guess that's the one I would recommend mostly. Yeah, go to the Dave Ramsey website.
Yes, thank you for that. For those who do not know who Dave Ramsey is, he is a financial coach. And even though it is American-based, you can get a lot of the fundamental tips that will guide you with a mindset towards having a healthy financial outlook.
Yeah.
And you can impact your life. So
yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. We have been graced by the 2018 Mandela Fellow, who we can see that after having that experience, she quit her job and is doing this. So we are honored, and we're sure a lot of people are going to come, and you've helped us identify money trauma. What are the signs, some examples, the path towards healing, so that we can be competent. And what I'm glad is this is not a male or female thing, a man or woman thing, it's a human thing. And I'm glad you've provided a safe space to explore this. So if you're listening to this webinar, reach out to Juliet. She's provided her information. Reach out to her on Instagram. If you are an individual, if you're a church group, if you're a community investment group, if you're a corporate, she's had experiences and she does this, reach out to her. How to balance having social impact to the organization and bring in the money aspect. She will guide you through all these different scenarios. So you have been experiencing a VALK webinar courtesy of VALK, managed by Jazz Mystery and Her Excellency Jennifer Ania, and I have been your host, Andrew Balongo Opere, podcaster who shares ideas from thought leaders that can improve and transform your life. Check me out on Revenge of the Forsaken Gods. know it's a mouthful, on all platforms. But if that's too much for you, just type in Revenge F Gods. That's Revenge F Gods on all platforms, where I interview psychologists, coaches, storytellers on things relating to life that we weren't taught. And be on the lookout for Juliet to be also on the podcast. So thank you very much. Keep on engaging with the VALK Facebook group. We keep on sharing resources for you there. We unpack what we share. If you need support and help in VoiceOver, yes, just reach out to us at the VALK, VALK, Voice Actors League of Kenya Facebook group. That's where we have our discussions, and you can go back and see all the questions and inspiration and resources that we have shared so that you can be a better voiceover actor professional. Thank you very much and have a great day.